For having me.
All right, you know, we should point out that the current mayor of San Francisco, Ed Lee, he's Asian, but he was appointed and not elected. So I want to ask you, what would winning this office mean to you and Asian Americans across the country?
Well, Veronica, it's a very exciting time in San Francisco because, as you said, we have 6 Asian American candidates out of a field of 16. And what we're going to see in San Francisco, I think, is a historic turnout in the Asian American vote. Now, as you mentioned, although 1 out of every 3 people here are Asian American, the electorate is only about 18%. So it's not enough to constitute a voting bloc in and of itself, but obviously the Asian vote as well as the Chinese vote is going to make a huge difference. And with all the candidates, you know, out there campaigning every day, you know, we're really going to see a historic election here in San Francisco.
Well, that brings us to this question. I mean, if elected, you'd be one of 36 Asian American mayors across the country. And yet Asian Americans are the fastest growing minority group in America. I believe there was a jump of 46% between 2000 to 2010. So why do you think it's taken so long for this segment of the population to make a political impact? And why are they not turning out at the polls, like you were just saying?
You know, they call the Asian American constituent the sleeping giant. And I think it's also true that we haven't had a lot of Asian American leaders come forward and run for office. When I was elected public defender in 2002, I was the first Asian American elected department head in our city. And so, you know, what we've seen is really a slow evolution. And up until a few years ago, we had 1 member on the Board of Supervisors, which boasts 11 members who was Asian American. So it's really, I think, a coming together of both the electorate as well as more awareness. And people are becoming more and more aware of the importance of running for office. You know, we're seeing throughout the state more Asian Americans from Vietnamese, Koreans, Chinese, you name it, who are running for office. I'm Japanese American. I'm actually 4th generation Japanese American, so my family's been here since the 1890s. But it's very important going forward that we see representative leaders who are willing to run for office.
All right, you know, you're Japanese American. I'm also half Asian. My mother is a Filipino American. And being an Asian American, I mean, I understand we're definitely not this monolithic community. And because of that, Jeff, it's really difficult to get us to coalesce around the same issues. So if you do become the mayor of San Francisco, where there are Asian Americans from so many different backgrounds, how are you going to bridge this gap? And also, how are you going to address the many different issues that affect each different type of group? How are you going to address those issues?
Well, Veronica, when it really comes down to it, what I found is that Asian American voters, although they obviously are going to be paying attention to issues important to the Asian American community, they really care about the same things that all other Americans care about. Jobs is a big issue. Education. People are concerned about having a quality education for their children. And so when it really gets down to the brass tacks, you've got to be able to address the same issues. And it has less to do about ethnicity when you have 6 candidates who are Asian Americans. You know, you're not going to simply vote for a candidate just because he or she happens to have a recognizable last name. You're going to want a candidate who's going to be able to deliver results. And so that's really what this campaign comes down to. We have an appointed mayor who's running in this field, so he's running on his record. And it's incumbent on myself and others who are challenging this appointed mayor to make the case, and that's what we're doing. And, you know, in my case, I'm somebody who's very independent. I've taken on a lot of tough issues like pension reform, and so I'm really distinguishing myself based on my own record and what I've done, rather than just being an Asian American.
All right, candidate for San Francisco Mayor Jeff Adachi, thanks so much for joining us, sir.
Thanks, Veronica.
Great conversation.